Hello and welcome again to Southgate Estates question and answer session. Today we're going to be running through surveys. Where do I go to book my survey? Who do I call? How much is that survey going to cost me? What's going to be in the survey report and how do I look at all the different items that are in there? Which bits should I be worried about? And if I see something that's worrying, should I pull out? Should I leave that property alone and not purchase and run through with things? These are all the things we're hoping to cover through with you, so do stay tuned. So Jonathan, what is a survey and why might I need one?
A survey is when you have an expert look at a property you're going to buy, and unless you're an expert in property, you really need somebody who knows what they're doing to take a look at it,
Right.
and make sure that what you are buying is in good condition and it's good value for money.
Okay, Jonathan, so what sort of levels of survey could we get and what sort of price do we look to pay on a property, say a 3-bedroom family home in the current market?
Well, there are normally 3 levels of survey. There is the very basic valuation survey. This is where the valuer or surveyor will go in, he'll spend 10 or 20 minutes in the property.
Right.
He should spot if there's a major problem in that time, but it will be very brief and it won't go into any great detail at all. And you have no comeback if he's missed something. It is just a rough valuation. You would probably need that if you're getting a mortgage as a bare minimum. The next level up is the level 2, often called the home buyer's survey, and that is where the surveyor will spend maybe 3 or 4 hours in the property, and he will go into a little bit more depth. He'll have a good look in the loft, he'll have a root around for woodworm, he'll look at all the walls individually, and he should spot if there's any significant or expensive issues. And the final level is a little bit more in depth. It's the level 3 or building survey, where the surveyor would normally spend a whole day in the property. He will have a really good look in the loft. He'll look in the cavity walls, probably under the floors. He might even take floorboards up. He'll go to a lot more trouble, and he'll write you a far more detailed report. You might use that if you're having a survey on a slightly older property, if you were buying a thatched or a cob property, something like that. So yeah, you get the choice, and again, it suits different properties. So a new build, you would probably go for a valuation if it's only a couple of years old. Level 2 tends to suit most properties. Level 3 for something a little bit special. In terms of costs, I would expect a valuation to be £200 to £300. A level 2 survey would typically be around £400 to £600. And the level 3 survey would probably be somewhere between sort of £600 and £1,000,
Right.
Depending on the surveyor.
Okay, so how do I choose the surveyor then?
Well, again, you need to be a little bit careful. The surveyor is representing you. You need to make sure that whoever's recommending them are not going to be biased. So my advice is don't use a surveyor attached to the estate agents, because they will want the deals to go through. They might sort of wrap things up in cotton wool a little bit. You want an honest survey, but also you don't want anything too harsh. So take advice from friends and family. You might find somebody who can make a recommendation for you, or maybe even ask your solicitor. They might have a good recommendation too.
So Jonathan, could you just run me through what sort of things I'd expect to find in my survey report, please?
Yeah, of course. We've got a survey report here, which is very typical. It's about 50 pages long. The very first section will be a summary, which will just give you an overall opinion, and then it will go through the items of the property one by one, and it will work its way through the foundations, the walls, and then the windows, the roof, the doors, the woodwork, everything in the property, and it will rank every item in there as a green, an amber, or a red on the traffic light system. So a green means nothing to worry about, all fine.
Right.
An amber will mean it needs maybe some repairs or looking into, and a red will mean there is a problem that possibly needs urgent attention.
Right.
So every single item will be ranked, and then it will flag up any significant items separately.
Okay.
You'll also find in some reports, if you've got a valuation as part of the survey, it will give a page that says the property in its current condition is worth this much, which means the surveyor is giving you an opinion of whether you're paying the right price for the property. It is worth looking at.
Okay. So Jonathan, the most common items to get a red on a report would be either a gas installation or electrical parts of the property. If I get a red, would you advise me to walk away?
Absolutely not. This is really common, and it's because the surveyors who go into the property are not experts in gas or electrical installations. They haven't seen the certificates for the property quite often, and because the risks associated with these parts of the property are high, as in danger of death, they always get a level 3, or nearly always get a level 3 or a red in this report. And that essentially means they haven't inspected them. So what you might want to do is get a gas engineer or an electrical contractor to go in and either test or just do a visual inspection of the appliances. Or they may already have these tests. Ask the agents or your solicitor if they've got certificates for these installations, in which case they're nothing to worry about. But certainly no, don't walk away if you get a level 3. It's very normal, even on almost new builds. You will get level 3s on the gas and the electrical part of the report. So you'll get that red traffic light on those parts regardless.
So Johnny, thank you for clearing that up. That was really reassuring. But what if I get reds on other parts of the survey report?
It can be quite normal, but I think the main thing to think about is what you were expecting. So if you are buying a property that's an absolute wreck, then you are going to expect to get reds on a lot of things, and it would be no surprise. If you're buying something that's almost new or presented pristinely and you're not expecting to have to spend any money, then you probably want to see greens and a few ambers, but not too many reds. So it needs to come down to expectations for the property. I actually tell people to think of it like walking into the doctors and saying, inspect me, tell me everything that's wrong with my body. And I think no matter who you are, you will have a list of things that aren't quite right, whether it's just slightly dodgy hearing, or a bit of rot in your teeth, or slightly worn joints. Everybody will have something that's not perfect. And the survey report is like that. So if you were doing a medical report on somebody young, it should read pretty cleanly. If you were doing it on a pensioner, there would be a list, but actually they could be in perfectly good condition for their age, and the house is just like that too.
So I've got my report, I've read it through. What if it's far more worse than I was expecting?
This is where you need to get a bit of an opinion on it. So talk to other people who are used to buying properties, who've bought several properties in the past, or some knowledge of the trade, and see if it is worse than you would really expect. But give it some thought, take your time to think it over. If it is worse, if there are things on there that need attention, maybe get some contractors in to have a look at it. So if it says it needs new windows, maybe get them priced up. Talk to the agent. It might be that the vendor will drop the price to allow you to put new windows in. And if it is really bad, if there's something that comes up that you really weren't expecting, you're really uncomfortable with, much as it pains me to say this, walk away. You don't want to saddle yourself with a property that's got a long-term problem that can't be solved. Don't be afraid to walk away if necessary.
Any final tips you could give me just in closing, please?
I think the really important one is these reports can be quite scary. Give the surveyor a call, and you'll get a very different opinion to what will come out from this report by talking to the surveyor. And a question that I always suggest you ask is, if I was a family member of you, would you recommend I bought the house? And that is such a useful question, because the surveyor will then think about it and think, oh, if David was my son, would I tell him to walk away? Would I tell him to go ahead? Would I tell him to renegotiate? And that will give you some very honest and sound advice. And again, it's not binding the surveyor to anything at all. It will be just independent and quality advice. So bring the surveyor and ask them what they would do in your situation. You'll probably get some really useful information from that.
That's great. Thanks, John. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. We hope you've enjoyed, and we hope that this has been informative for you. We're trying to create these videos to give you the best advice that's possible, just to get those things, all the things that you're unsure of, any questions that you have. We're just trying to make things a little bit easier for you and a little bit more clearer. We are producing other videos, so do check out those ones as well. And if there's anything that we haven't covered that you think is really important for the current market, do drop a comment below, and we'd be more than happy to create a new video on those chosen subjects. Thanks for watching. See you soon.